Hola YouTube, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's your girl Darieny, and if you're new here, bienvenidos. Today's video is going to be an interesting and a juicy video. Okay, today's video I am going to be talking about things I wish I knew before becoming a flight attendant, because honestly I wish I knew a lot of stuff prior to getting into this, okay? And before I get started, I just want to put out a disclaimer. Not all airlines are the same. Not all companies are the same. So not everything that I am going to speak about in this video applies to all airlines or all companies. I come from the commercial world and I'm now doing private charter. So I will specify which of the two I am talking about. Some of the stuff is going to be for both, but when I need to specify, I will. So with all that being said, let's get started. One of the things that I wish I knew before becoming a flight attendant was that starting off, this is not a financially sustainable job. Yes, I said it. Honestly, flight attending is good for somebody that has stability, that has help. Now, let me explain. When I say this is a good job for somebody that's stable, now I see why there's a lot of older flight attendants. That's because they have retired out of their career job and this is now like their fun job. Because when you start off becoming a flight attendant, it does not pay a lot. So one of the things I wish I knew is that starting off, you're not going to make a lot of money. And this job is good for somebody that has a little bit more financial stability, or maybe a young person that is living with their parents or a boyfriend that is getting some type of help financially. Because when you are a single person with real life bills, being a flight attendant, especially starting off, it is not financially sustainable. Also, another thing I wish I knew before becoming a flight attendant, and it has to do with the first point, is how we get paid. So when you're a flight attendant, different companies give you different guaranteed hours. So that is the hours that you will get paid whether you fly or not. That's like your minimum. Obviously, if you're flying a lot, then you will get paid for what you're flying for if you're flying above your guarantee. And like I said, different companies have different minimum or guaranteed hours that they would give you for the month. Outside of that, you get paid twice a month. I come from the corporate world, and even before being corporate, I worked in the food industry and I've also worked in the retail industry as well. So you get paid what you work. That's not necessarily the case here. This lighting is weird. Like one hand looks yellow because the lighting, there's two color lightings going on here. It's not me, it's the lighting. Let's get back on track. So when you become a flight attendant, there are guaranteed hours that you get paid for the month. Like I said, I came immediately from the corporate world. So I was a salary-based worker. I knew how much my checks were gonna be, whether I worked or I did not work and used, you know, a PTO. If there was a holiday, I didn't work, but coming from the corporate world, that was covered. So being a salary-based worker, you had that safety net of knowing how much you was gonna get paid every pay period, right? And you get paid on a bi-weekly, or some people could even get paid weekly. And yes, when you're getting paid bi-weekly, you'll be getting paid twice a month, or depending on the month, you will even get paid 3 times in 1 month. It all depends. But being a flight attendant, it does not necessarily work like that. Different airlines have different pay days, right? And I'm just gonna use random days for example purposes. Let's say your payday is the 4th of the month and the 16th of the month, just to throw numbers out there. Your first paycheck of the month is going to be your guaranteed hours. So depending on what your airline is giving you, let's say your airline pays you a minimum of 70 hours for the entire month. That gets split in half. So your very first check is going to be half of that, which is 35 hours guaranteed. And then your second paycheck is going to be your other half plus what you have worked. If you have any overages, if you actually worked and you have your per diem and all that stuff, all that would get added on to your second pay. Is it making sense to you yet? I hope you're keeping up. So yes, learning about the pay and how we get paid as flight attendants, I totally wish I knew this prior to, because trust me when I tell you, that would have been a decision maker for me as well. But I had to learn it all the hard way, to be honest, because I didn't know flight attendants prior to this, you know, that I can ask questions or anything like that. I had to learn this on my own. So here I am passing the information on to you. Another thing I wish I knew, the interview process. Depending on the company, the interview process can be long and extensive. Some companies, one interview and you're in, you're done. And some companies, you need to do a phone interview, then you have to do a video interview, then you have to do an in-person interview, and then you have to do a one-on-one interview. And sometimes some companies do the one-on-one and some don't. If you are going to one of the companies that do all of those steps, the interview process is going to be long. Another thing, I mean, I had an idea of this. I knew that becoming a flight attendant was not going to be easy, but one thing that people definitely need to know, flight attendant training is no joke. Once again, depending on a company, would depend on how long your training is. Some companies you can train for 4 weeks because they may not have that many aircrafts, and some company, I believe the longest one that I am aware of as of now, I believe is 7 weeks. Flight attendant training is extensive and it's hard. And I'm going to go on a limb and say this. If you are going into flight attendant training after high school, it's probably going to be one of the hardest things you've ever done, because flight attendant training, it is no joke. However, for me, it was a little bit different because I would say college wasn't as hard as flight attendant training, but it definitely prepared me for the workload that I had to deal with while going through flight attendant training. Moving on, another thing that I wish I knew before becoming a flight attendant is the reserve life. Work-life balance when you're a flight attendant, it can be good. However, if you're working for an airline where you have to report 2 hours after you get that phone call from crew scheduling, boy, oh boy. Now, for example purposes, my previous airline was a commercial airline. It was regional for a main line. And I'm saying that because I don't want to mention the names. Our reserve was, there was 2, 5 a.m. and 4 p.m. If I wanted to be safer, I would do the 4 p.m. reserve time, because if they were to call you, you are already awake. You most likely, well, I could only speak for me. I was already awake. I had a uniform ironed and ready to go, and more often than not, I had my suitcase somewhat ready. But if you had that 5 a.m. reserve time, they can call you 5 a.m. They can call you 6 a.m. And if you're asleep, you better wake it up, because guess what? You got 2 hours to be at the airport in uniform, ready to go. With that, I'm going to add one more thing. Actually, 2 more things. The work-life balance. When you start off, I think because you're just getting used to being away from either a loved one or just your family, you can get homesick. Or if you're like me, being away, it was a great thing. And if you have a partner, some people say that being a flight attendant puts a strain in their relationship, and then other people say that it helps their relationship. For me, it helped my relationship because it allowed me to be away, miss my partner, and then come back, and it was like you know. Second thing, the one thing that I hated was being on hot reserve. So hot reserve, different companies have different names for hot reserve. I know companies that call it hot reserve. I know companies that call it ready reserve. And that means that you are at the airport ready to go in case they need you. But, and there's a big but in that one, depending on the company, your reserve time can vary. My airline, I had to be on hot reserve for 8 hours, and I only got credited for 4 of those hours. And there was time, I can actually say more than 50% of the time that I was on hot reserve, I did not get used. So imagine being at the airport in uniform, ready to go, only to have to go back home. I hated it. I sure did. Another thing that I did not know before becoming a flight attendant was that you will be working with different people. It is rare, depending on the company, once again, it's rare that you work with the same people. And this kind of sucks when you find that one or few workers that you like working with, that because y'all work so well together, things just go smoothly. But because you don't often work with the same people, you are exposed to many different personalities, many different work ethics, many different things, okay? And that kind of sucked for me because I came from a world where I was used to having a set team because we had a way that we supported each other, elevated each other. But when you're constantly working with different people, it can be challenging. And like many things, it has its pros and it has its cons. All right, this video is getting long, so I'm going to cut it right here. There are other things that I do want to mention, but we gotta cut this video short. The last thing that I wish I knew about becoming a flight attendant is all the things that you will be exposed to. This varies company to company. For example, me doing commercial to now doing private charter is very different because the company that I'm working with right now, we mainly do military flights. We also do deportation flights. We do, well, we call them ICE flights. We also do refugee flights. We do VIP or special flights as well. So we don't deal with what commercial airlines have to deal with. And I can say that because I've been there. With that being said, you will be exposed to a lot of things. People, animals, things that the airplane could carry that you had no idea it can carry. You would just be exposed to a whole different world, okay? So, being a flight attendant, the limitations on a support animal is very wide. A lot of the times when you think about a support animal, what do you think of? A dog. Well, the world is changing and there are different animals that you can have as a support animal. Obviously now there are limitations to it because trust me, people have pushed the envelope. But with me being now in charter, the most we might deal with is probably like a canine dog or anything like that. But in the commercial world, you see a little bit of everything, okay? And fun fact, you can even transport body parts as well. So I've seen that. I've been aware of that. So it can be a fun job, but you need to be able to do your research, do specific research. Research your company, what it offers, what it has coming up in the future. Research, 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 and learn, learn, learn so that you can make an informed decision. I love what I do. I love my job. I love being a flight attendant. I love the customer service aspect of it. I love that I am able to travel, and especially now with charter, I am able to go to places that some of these places I did not envision myself going to on my own, you know, and here I have my job taking me to those places. So like I said, research, research, research so that you can make an informed decision, so that you can end up with a company that you like, or even better, that you love, so that you can be able to stay there for a while. I did not mention this when I mentioned money. Being a flight attendant, more often than not, your pay does go up every year. Once again, research, research, research so that you can find out where a specific company caps or reaches their maximum. You know, because certain companies reach their maximum at year 5, others reach their maximum at year 8 or year 9. So research, research, research. Like I said, I love my job duties. I will be honest and say I'm not necessarily happy with my current company. I am grateful for the opportunities that I've gained and gathered from it, but at some point I'm gonna have to move on. You know, I know what's best for me, and I am learning to have a backbone and make decisions for myself and not just stick around just because. So yes, let's cut this video right here. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave this video a thumbs up, comment down below, and if you're not subscribed already, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys on my next video. Ciao.